On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're bringing you to the Hamptons to spend the day with one of our favorite hosts, Chefanie Nass, who shows us how to pull off the perfect dinner party. As a culinary influencer, designer, and author of the entertaining book Swing By, Chefanie shares her expert inside tips on all things cooking and shows us how she sets a beautiful table. You won't want to miss this episode. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Chefanie Nass. Thank you, Homeworthy, for visiting me in the Hamptons. This is a very happy place for me. It's where I met my husband. It's where I have so many happy summer memories. And I love so many things about this special place. It's a really happy place for me to cook, and I'll be bringing you back to prepare a few favorite summer recipes that are very easy. We are making a tomato sauce pasta, and we are making a beautiful berry meringue dessert, and we'll also set a table. We had intended to go to 2 farm stands. We may get to 3 or 4. Each farm stand has beautiful specialty items, and then whatever we don't buy at the farm stands, we will get at Loaves and Fishes to round out my grocery list so that I can make my ideal summer party for you and share some ideas with all of you watching. Here we are at a very special farm stand, and you see behind the farm stand are beautiful flowers that you can also buy. We are going to get fresh tomatoes for the tomato sauce and some berries if they have them. So for the meringues, we definitely want these beautiful raspberries. And look at these blueberries, how big they are. Out here, there are farm stands on every corner. This area of the Hamptons is very agricultural focused, and it's amazing because we're also so near to the ocean. So you have this beautiful produce with the ocean air that tastes better and is even more gorgeous than you would find anywhere else. So these tomatoes are grown here, and they are going to be fabulous for my tomato sauce. The more red they are, the more excited I am about them. So I'm looking for the reddest ones. And it smells so good here with all the basil. Smell all that fresh basil? It's heaven. Wherever it says our own, it means the vegetables are grown literally here on this amazing land. You know, I have flowers for the table, but I always bring a napkin that I'm going to use for a dinner party to sort of match the colors. See, this is a totally different green, but this is literally a Chefanie cotton dinner napkin. I kind of like this purple with it. And what I like so much about using vegetables on the table is you can reuse them. So if we use them as decor, we can later use them as a salad, and I love that. So maybe this lettuce will have a place on my table, and I love that lettuce really does look like a little flower. But we could also put out eggplant in little piles. I'm going to take 2 lettuces. This lettuce is really delicious, this red leaf lettuce, which is actually a very deep purple. And again, I like how it goes with my napkin and table color palette. So I'm gonna buy this. Thank you. You know, there are so many farm stands, and each farm stand has a specialty. So if I'm just driving to pick up tomatoes, I'll stop at whatever farm stand is on my way. But if I want a duck, I'll go to Fairview Farms at Mecox. If I want apples, I'll go to the Milk Pail. If I want fried chicken, I'll go to Round Swamp Farm. It just depends on exactly what I need. But I come here as often as I need to. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, off we go. Hello. Okay, so back to color matching my napkin, because there are so many different greens, there are so many different browns, and I really want to get the right colors to correspond with the linens that I'm using for this dinner. So, all right, obviously no, maybe yes. It's like nice and creamy. I really want like a latte brown. I'm not seeing it, which is a perk of late summer. When flowers dry, they're like the dusty brown color I'm looking for. Yeah, this is definitely a better match than the pinks, but the pinks could be interesting. I love these. They're sort of like sunflowers, but they're a little more delicate. I love these velvety flowers. Sunflowers are such a summer classic. I've seen them with brown petals this summer, and I'm really obsessed with those. I love these little pom-poms and these beautiful zinnias. I tend not to buy mixed bouquets of flowers because I prefer to do the arranging myself, and always I'm like working around a color palette, and unless the mixed bouquet is like sent from the heavens, I need to do it myself. But I think I like what we got. Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Done.
Hi,
It's
I'm
like,
Barbara.
How are
sorry,
you?
this is my Aunt Ellen.
How
It's
are
all, you should see
Stephanie.
the entire, I'm going to show you all of her.
You're so sweet.
On the cover of the magazine.
You're so sweet. Anyway, I have a book coming out, and so we're doing like a lot of promotion, and you'll see our wedding, doing so much
I'm
stuff.
so excited for you.
And so life changes so
Hopefully I'll
fast. See you so soon. Bye, bye, bye. All right, off we go. This is really like a small town, and I always see people that I know and love, which is like an added perk to being out here. We're at our next stop, which is Loaves and Fishes Market. Here we'll find specialty food items, some prepared foods. It's a real local favorite, and it'll help me complete my list for our party tonight. So as you can see, there are so many house-made specialties with vegetables, and they're really famous for their pastries. If you want to do a semi-homemade dessert, these meringues are ideal. And I buy them for the number of guests that I'm welcoming, and then I pour their amazing raspberry sauce on top with a little fresh fruit. So we'll do that, and then I'll get other things for the house, the cookies, the cakes, and then I'll get some chicken and other favorite things. So this food store was opened with the woman who used to work with Ina Garten at the Barefoot Contessa. So it holds a very special place in food and Hamptons history. This raspberry sauce is to die for. Can I get 4 meringues? We live out here all summer, and we come to the store probably once a week. My husband loves the pea salad. I love all of it. I love their frittatas. I love their soups. I love their desserts. And it's nice because it tastes homemade, but you don't have to always do all of the cooking. So as you can see, there's tons of hors d'oeuvres and sauces for you in here. I love the pea and broccoli soup. I always bring a dessert to someone's house, and if I don't cook it, I'll buy it here. I love the chicken cutlets. If we have guests, I might buy a frittata. It always depends, but everything is so good. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Also, these brownies are unbelievable. Off we go. Okay, we're all set at Loaves and Fishes. We're going home. This road takes you directly to Ocean Road Beach, which is where I walk many, many mornings for exercise. When I arrive at the ocean and smell that fresh salt air, it's my treat. It's my reward at the end of a long walk. I wanted to show you, oh drats, they don't have it today, but this is a little woman who puts out flowers. Oh yes, here, if you want to grab that. So this is some individual who makes these gorgeous flower arrangements and sells them along with the tomatoes from her garden. How special is that? So Bridgehampton, where we are now, is really horse country. This is where the Hampton Classic takes place, and there are so many horse farms here. It's a very special place here because there's so much natural beauty. Now that we've got all the groceries, let me put them to use and make something delicious. Welcome to the kitchen. We are ready to prepare these delicious recipes. The first one is a new take on tomato sauce. To give you some background, I really only eat tomatoes at their peak. So that's right now, and they smell so good even when they're on the vine. I literally won't eat tomatoes November through March because they don't taste as good as these. These are like candy. And we've seen so many tomato sauce recipes where you're toiling over the stove with all these gradual steps. The sauce is boiling up and it's making a mess on your stove. This is an oven roasted tomato sauce recipe. So if you think about potatoes, roasted potatoes are more delicious than boiled potatoes, right? And we are going to roast these guys because I'm roasting at 425. We're gonna have a Maillard caramelization reaction. It makes the tomatoes their best. It takes them to their peak of flavor. And I'm also gonna roast half an onion to give it some sweetness. We're gonna blend it, and then we're gonna pour it over some pasta. So first, I'm gonna put on an apron. This apron came from our wedding. So we made this beautiful custom toile for our wedding. And on the toile, you see illustrations of me and my husband and our favorite places in the mountains, at the beach, in the city, our favorite foods. You have ice cream and lobster rolls, our favorite flower, which is hydrangea. And so I keep this apron in our kitchen so I remember our happiest day, our wedding day, and also I'll protect my dress. And I have a chef's knife and a tomato. I was pretty indiscriminate about how I chose the tomatoes, but the first thing I did when I got back to the kitchen was I put the oven on 425 so it could preheat. But back to the tomato, I'm going to turn it over to its flatter side so it doesn't move around, and I'm gonna cut it down the middle. I'm gonna cut off the top because I don't like this hard part. It won't taste good, it won't add anything. I'm just gonna cut out, I guess it's called a pith. As I cut tomatoes, I'm gonna put them on a baking sheet. Move those veggies from our garden. I'm gonna line it with parchment. Parchment for me is a total cooking hack and a life hack because it means I don't have to scrub the pan and all the burnt and caramelized deliciousness that you might find on a pan. I'm just gonna lay this here and I'm later gonna pick up everything, pour it in the blender, and the parchment paper makes it easier, plus less to clean up. And I'm gonna cut the tomatoes in equal sized parts, but because the tomatoes are all different sizes, I'm just gonna optimize for this size because this size is gonna roast really nicely. And I am going to plop these tomato slices on the baking sheet. This isn't making cookies. When you make cookies, you need space in between all your cookie dough. With the tomato, it's not gonna spread. So you can place them as close together as you want, but keep them all in a flat line. Don't pile them up because you want them to cook evenly. So I'm just chopping these. We're gonna use as many tomatoes as fill the baking sheet, leaving a little bit of room to roast some onion. So I think that's gonna be between 6 and 8 tomatoes. It's gonna vary based on the size of your tomatoes. But also, sometimes when I make this recipe, I use cherry tomatoes, but this is all good tomato. And I'm gonna save this, and it's not exactly the same size as the other slices. It'll cook a little faster, but this is totally fine and delicious to use. So plopping this all down. This is tomato number 1, tomato number 2. But this is what in culinary school, they call this a rough chop. It's just a rough chop. And you know, when you're making salad and the cut vegetable is the end product, it really should look perfect. But because this is all going to be blended, I don't really care about the exact shape of each slice. So I'm just doing this quickly because I want to get it in the oven to start roasting. I think we have enough room for one more tomato. And again, I think this is going to make like 4 servings of pasta. So if you were serving 8, you would just do 2 baking sheets. or 3, and then you have leftover, and no one's gonna cry about leftover tomato sauce. To give the tomato sauce a little bit of sweetness, I'm gonna also roast half an onion. This is a sweet yellow onion. I'm gonna cut off the top, cut off the bottom. I made this dish for my husband and we both agreed it needed a little sweetness, but a lot of traditional tomato sauces literally include sugar. I'm not gonna do that. The tomatoes this time of year are so sweet, plus onion is natural sweetness with additional flavor. So this much onion, I'm gonna cut it to the size of the rest of the tomatoes, because if it's cut around the same size, it'll cook in around the same time. That's a lot of salt. And then I'm using my friend's amazing Greek olive oil. I'm not measuring the olive oil. I am pouring the olive oil at a speed that I feel is adequately oiling all of these veggies. So ready? I'm not gonna stop. Okay. I'm gonna take a wooden spoon and mix it up, but you see already, this is a single baking sheet of prep, so I'm not making a big mess. When a lot of people make tomato sauce, it's like they cut and then they do this, and then they have the garlic, and then they have the herbs, and it's like the wine, and this is very simplified, which is how summer should be. I'm gonna open this up a little bit because onions take longer to cook than tomatoes. But again, this is like around the same size. There you go. All the veggies are prepped. We are going to put this in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 25 minutes, depending on when we see a little golden brown caramelization. That's when we know it'll be ready. All right. So the next step in this dish is putting a pot of water to boil for the pasta. It'll be salty water, and then when the sauce is ready, we'll make the pasta. So I'm not measuring out this water. I just know how much pasta is going in, and we're gonna need water to cover all the dry pasta. So I'm imagining the volume of the pasta, and this will be enough water for that. And then again, I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing the salt. It's easier when I take off the lid. That's enough salt. And then I'm gonna put this water on high heat to boil. So the sauce is in progress and the dessert is gonna come together very, very fast. So now we can focus on the table. I know that I wanna do something with this beautiful lettuce. So maybe I'll just chop it a little and put it into bud vases. So here are some pretty little bud vases. I'll just fill them with a touch of water. This lettuce smells so earthy and good. So this is a little wet, but it's clean. And I'm looking at the diameter of these bud vases, and let's see. See how this looks like a flower and how sweet that is as an alternative? Let's see if I can tuck this in. This is the bottom of the lettuce, which is regenerative. So if I wanted to cut off the bottom here and put this in a ramekin by the window for a week or so, it would begin sprouting. And then from there I could put it in my garden and start growing my own lettuce. So this is not scraps. This is totally the opportunity to grow and have much more lettuce. So this I save. And this is also fun for children to do because they get to understand how vegetable grows. So both little heads are in this ramekin in sufficient clean water, and they will grow. So far I haven't spent so much money on flowers. These dried flowers came from the bush, and then the cabbage was just the cost of the cabbage. The only flowers I did spend money on were these. And let me put them in pretty little vases for the arrangement on the table. madly in love with these vases. They, to the best of my knowledge, are only sold at a store in Palm Beach called Mary Mahoney. And I love that you can use them as candle holders or as flower vases. And I love that they look like an open flower in which you put your own flowers. So I'll fill these with a little bit of water. All right, so these to me feel classic and traditional, but they also have an Alice in Wonderland kind of magical vibe. And I'm just gonna trim the first flower. This is gonna be too short. So I need to trim the next flower a little bit longer because I want it to sit in the water. That looks like the right length. So I'm gonna trim a bunch of these to the same length. Now that I know, like this. And then, so I want them to face outward to sort of mimic the petals of the silver. And I'm not going to be fastidious about this, but where possible, I'm taking out the bottom leaves, because if the leaves sit in the water at room temperature, they'll develop mold, and then your arrangement won't last as long. So I'm just pulling off the bottom. And remember, I don't have to waste my time with the bottom of the whole stem, only the bottom of what I need. And I'm just poking these in to the bud vase. The bud vase has a nice narrow opening, so I don't have to do so much arranging. And then I have all of these around the circumference of the opening going outward, and then I'll put these in the middle to fill it out. This one is nice and straight. And then this, to me, I don't know how it looks from the side, is sort of the extent to which I want this done. And just so the next one matches, I'm going to do the first one same length. This is done. So I started my career as a caterer, and I found myself decorating tables and making custom linens and plates and other goodies for my clients. So I started making my own designs of tableware, and now my tableware business is my central focus, and I seldom cater. If I cater, I'm doing cooking classes in homeless shelters to teach people cooking techniques and then feeding everyone. Or around the holidays, I'm going on morning news and I'm demonstrating fun recipes and holiday ideas. But in terms of cooking, I mostly cook for my family and friends. And then I have a cookbook coming out, which is 1,000,000 recipes, but it's mostly for hosting dinner parties and things and other kinds of parties. And that is done. Beautiful. They still need 10 to 15 minutes. And my flower arrangements are all done. I can talk you through the other table components that we're going to use. These candles are some of our Baroque candles, we call them, and they are carved by hand, and I love this dark green with the napkins. I'm going to do a bamboo napkin ring. It feels natural and outdoorsy and summery. So napkin. This is a thick cotton napkin, very starchy, and it's folded in quarters. And I'm going to take this napkin, this bamboo napkin ring, and quickly pull one corner through it about 30% over the square. And then I'm going to puff up the bottom, which is the front. I'm going to make sure the more attractive side of the napkin is facing upward. And then that is that. So we're going to set the table for 8. And here are my napkins with napkin rings. I love this pattern. It is so popular, this napkin pattern. And I find that it's lovely for all seasons, for fall, for summer, spring, all of it. So I love this, and it's just like a great napkin to keep in your home. It goes in the laundry, it goes in the dryer. You don't need to iron it. When it comes out of the dryer, you just fold it quickly when it's still warm, and there will not be a crease as you see in these. And then these are our cane chargers. So these are all woven by hand. And a charger is sort of the crown of a plate. And so we'll set the plate in the middle of this charger. And so you'll see this peak of this classic pattern, which we see like in chairs and in beds, but it's so fun to see it on the table as a charger. And we'll put our flowers, and we have a whole color palette here. You know, for our wedding, we did a long 28-foot cake down the middle of the table. And now everyone expects me to do sweets on the table, which I'm very proud of. So I also bought some mini pies from the milk pail. And this is a little apple crisp, a little mini. So we're gonna nestle these pies. This is apple crisp, and then this one is raspberry peach. We're gonna nestle these among the flowers and the candles. Wow. So I chose these pies because they weren't open-faced, and the color of the crust really matches the color of the napkin rings, which matches the color of the cane chargers and the birds in the pattern, and you know, it just ties everything together. And I just love bringing people back to their happiest moments, their childhood. And so I'm imagining people in between courses just taking their spoon and taking a little bite of pie. So my book is called Swing By, because that's often how I invite people to come over. And whether it's a formal seated meal or a casual gathering, I want people to come casually as themselves. And the book outlines so many different kinds of gatherings and events, some formal, some casual, but the Swing By title sort of encapsulates my hosting ethos. The guests don't have to bring much of themselves, because once they arrive, they'll be taken care of. And the book is available for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at your local bookseller, and maybe some others. Okay, all the solids, or most of the solids, have been lifted from this parchment. This liquid is very, very hot, but I'm carefully not going to waste it because it is so delicious. And as long as this side of the parchment is open, I'm gonna quickly and carefully grab the edges, and pour it all into the blender. And I wanna squeeze all of this yumminess into my sauce. And I love parchment paper for so many things. When you're roasting vegetables of all kinds, broccoli, asparagus, it's just the best. All right, so this is everything we need for the sauce. I'll put the lid on. Ready to puree. I'm gonna liquefy. I want it to be velvety. I want it to be so smooth. So this sauce is smooth. I think a major difference between home cooking and fine dining is taking that extra time to get a sauce really velvety, silky smooth. So I put this blender on the highest liquefied setting so you won't see little chunks and, you know, little odds and ends mixed in. It all looks consistent, one color, one sauce. This is your tomato sauce. It is done. We are going to do this sauce on a rigatoni. The cook time for this is 12 to 14 minutes. I always trust the cooking instructions on the box because they've tried it a million times and they're right. So I'm gonna put, and we're at sea level, I'm gonna put the cook time at 12 and a half minutes because we're gonna cook the pasta in the sauce so that it's fully stuck to everything. So the pasta is stuck to the sauce and the sauce is stuck to the pasta. So I'm going to put the pasta in my salty boiling water. And hey Siri, set a timer for 12 and a half minutes. 12 and a half minutes. A minute in, we're going to stir it. So I like a wooden spoon. I am very nervous about plastic because this water is hot and I don't want to put any contaminants in food I'm preparing. So I'm stirring it and moving it around before everything sticks together, and then I'll just let it sit. So in the time that the pasta is boiling, I'm going to completely do my dessert. I love pastry. Pastry is my passion. I normally have cookie dough in my freezer. I make heaps of it at a time, and then I separate it into pints and then freeze the pints. So every time I have a dinner party, I use 1 pint of cookie dough. And I'll do elaborate cakes, I'll do elaborate pies. But today I wanted to share with you an idea. So meringues are like a semi-homemade idea. And these are from Loaves and Fishes, as you saw. And you can fill these with salty caramel sauce and then put beautiful sliced apples for the fall. You can do whipped cream and sliced peaches. But today we're doing raspberry sauce and raspberries. So just think of a meringue as a hosting hack for berries, fruits, delicious sauces. You could do mixed berries, you could do stone fruits, you could do, more of a tropical fruit like a pineapple. But I love meringue as an idea. The difference between a meringue and a pavlova is a meringue is crunchy through and through. It's brittle. A pavlova is like marshmallowy and chewy on the inside. I prefer meringue. I think most people also prefer meringue. So you can make your own meringue cookies once you have the egg whites and you pipe them out, or you just dollop them out at a low temperature in the oven. They're very easy to do. But if you don't have the time, buy the meringues. You can buy sauce like this one, which already has defrosted, and then throw some berries on top. I also think that an individual dessert at a home dinner party brings your dinner party to another level of elegance, like you would find in a restaurant. So rather than doing a big dessert, this time I'm doing individuals. So I'll plan to give everyone their own. Here's the meringue, here's the raspberry sauce, and I'm gonna pour it over, and this should be done a la minute. A la minute in French cuisine means right before serving. So don't leave the the raspberry sauce in the meringue for hours. It's going to deflate. You should do it just before you serve it. And so here we are with the meringue, and then we'll add some cleaned raspberries from the farm stand. And you could put mint, you could put basil. This is some basil I have from my garden. And then this is the easiest dessert ever. That one is already done. Should we do the next one? But today I wanted to demonstrate something that wasn't going to make you pull your hair out. So again, if you want to see this close up, the raspberry sauce goes right in the center of the meringue. I'm going to fill it up nicely, just like that. And then I will add some berries. I like things in threes. 1, 2, 3. And then a little piece of basil. 1 little leaf, a baby leaf, a micro leaf. Boom. And that is your dessert. So people will eat this with a spoon. They could lift it up if they're feeling bold and eat it like a cookie. But these are very elegant and an easy summer dessert if you don't want to stand in front of a hot stove and oven for hours and hours. So these are done. Look, for Thanksgiving, you could even do this with cranberry sauce or and like candied cranberries. Wouldn't that be delicious? For Christmas, you could do something with chocolate. There are so many different variations of things to do with meringue. Dessert took less time than it took me to boil the pasta. The pasta's almost done boiling, so I'm going to warm up the sauce. I'm going to pour my sauce into the saucepan over low flame. See, it's already bubbling. I need lower. I want it really low because I'm not intending to cook the sauce right now, just get it warm. And by cooking the pasta in the sauce, the pasta the sauce won't slip off of the pasta. It's another major difference between home cooking and fine dining. This additional step of cooking the pasta in the sauce. And if you really wanted to conserve pots and pans to clean, you could wait until the pasta is drained and do everything in the pasta pot. Okay, the pasta's ready. I'm gonna pour the cooked pasta, which is perfectly al dente, into the tomato sauce. And just look at this color. It's like orange. It looks like there's cream. There is no cream. You know exactly what's inside. If you wanted to serve tomato soup, the trolls on the internet might complain about this, but I don't see a reason why you can't serve this tomato soup as I made the sauce. You can serve it chilled with grilled cheese. You can serve it hot, but it is a healthy dish made from vegetables with a little seasoning, and it goes a very, very long way. Normally for pomodoro tomato pasta, you would do spaghetti, but I struggle serving a lot of plates of spaghetti at once because it's hard to plate it beautifully. I find rigatoni is easier to plate when you're plating many plates at once. There are rules, I don't know them. I like rigatoni, and it's easier in the hosting format most of the time. So this is looking perfect. I don't want my pasta to sit in a pool of sauce. So I'm gonna pull from the top, not from the bottom. And I'm gonna put the most beautiful noodles to the best of my ability on top. So I'm gonna pull, and I'm gonna put everything right in the middle of the plate. There's sauce, but not a pool of it. Oh, no, no. Okay, we'll fix it. And I'm turning off the flame. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna fix it. I am going to allow myself to eat this one single noodle. And then I'm going to just wipe this down with a damp paper towel, as they do in restaurants. And I would say good as new. And we'll just garnish it with some fresh basil, which I'm picking from the plant, from my basil, whatever, just before I serve it. So there you go. This sauce is not heavy. It won't give you a stomach ache. It tastes like summer with the essence of tomato at its best. By the way, I said to show the prettiest noodles on top. I broke that rule. This noodle is broken, as inevitably happens sometimes in a boiling pot of water. But I love this sauce. I love using the oven when I host, because unlike the stove where you have to work and crouch over it, the oven does a lot of the work for you. So while we had the tomatoes and onions in the oven, I was able to do flour arrangements. While the pasta was boiling, I was able to finish dessert. But again, back to the oven. The oven is your kitchen assistant, so use it as much as you can. So by the way, this is Chefanie flatware. I like that the handles take the shape of bamboo, but it's in a nice pearly white that's a little incandescent. You can use it with everything because it's like a creamy white and it matches with everything. So let's go set the table. All right, let's set the table. This beautiful breeze. Okay, so I always start with the chargers because they take up the most space in each place setting. I've already wiped down this table and I'm not going to use a tablecloth because I want it to have a more casual vibe, and I love a tablecloth, but this is just more earthy and different. So chargers down first. And I am careful that the plates are around the same distance from the edge of the table, because again, it makes a difference. And I'm just eyeballing to check the space and the placement of everything. It looks okay. And some traditionalists would insist on putting a plate on top of the charger. I'm going to do most of the plating in the kitchen, so we'll bring the plates of food outside. I'm just going to put the napkins directly on the chargers. And because of how I put the napkin rings on, there is a correct side up for me. It's like the poofier side, the fluffier side. That one got a little flattened. Puff it up a little. So these are flatware sets of 4. I don't know if in this box we have every piece, so I will gradually add it. The way you remember where things go, fork has 4 letters like left. It goes on the left. Spoon and knife have 5 letters, so they go on the right, like right. Right has 5, knife has 5, spoon has 5. And by the way, for dessert, when you put them on top, they go in the opposite direction of the other. So if I have a big soup spoon over on the right, this is going to face left. Easy to remember, huh? I'm just filling this out little by little. I really only need 3 pieces, but I'm going to put 4 just to cover my bases. I have 2 sizes of forks, so I'm just going to do these simple bistro cups. Again, they sort of connote casual and home and, you know, normal. Like you can just let your hair down, kind of whatever. I'm just also looking at how things are lined up, and I feel like I want to move some things because I want person A to speak to person B. And I want person Z to talk to person Y. Okay. And I'm gonna fiddle with everything to get it perfect. Did I miscount the number of cups? No, okay. So you put the bread, B for bread. The bread goes on the left, and D for drink. The drink goes on the right. So I'm right, the drink goes there. We get 1 more cup. So when you set the table, you need to do these components first. The plates, the flatware, and the glassware. Because this is how you know how much real estate you have to play with in the middle of the table. So I'm going to start with my tallest, most central flower arrangement first, these hydrangeas from the bush, and then I'm going to build out from there. So let's do it. I like symmetry. So we're going to frame everything around this central hydrangea. Next we're doing candles. Next we have the lettuce flowers. They're not lettuce, well, they're lettuce dressed up as flowers, acting like flowers. Next we have the miniature pies. Because you don't want these people sitting on the edge to feel discouraged that they weren't given the primo seats, so let them have pie. And voila, here we have a centerpiece that did not cost a lot of money, that incorporates the colors of the table, some local flavor, some local pastry, and it's not too tall, so people won't be fighting with the flowers to speak to the person across from them. And I think we are all set. I love cooking and I love setting the table because I love setting the scene for a memorable evening of interaction, conversation, bonding, storytelling, laughter. And that's really what all of this is all about. The flowers and the pies and the sweets are all about people being together. So I have people arriving. Thank you so much for coming to the Hamptons. Homeworthy, you inspire all of us, and I hope I could share some of my ideas with you. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.